Picture this. You're standing at the edge of an ocean at midnight. The waves crash unpredictably around your feet. Above you, billions of stars follow paths you'll never fully understand. And in your pocket, your phone buzzes with tomorrow's weather forecast, your carefully planned schedule, your investment portfolio updates. We live in this beautiful contradiction. We are cosmic dust that learned to worry about Monday morning meetings. We are the universe experiencing itself through anxiety about things we cannot control. But what if I told you that your desperate need to control everything isn't just exhausting you? It's actually keeping you from a very peace and success you're seeking. Today, we're going to journey through 3 profound insights that will change how you see uncertainty forever. We'll explore why your brain evolved to crave control, what quantum physics teaches us about the nature of reality, and how the most successful people in history learned to dance with the unknown. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let go. Number 1. The neuroscience of control, why your brain is addicted to certainty. Let me take you back 50,000 years. Your ancestor is walking through a dark forest. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every sound could signal danger. The ones who survived weren't the ones who trusted the unknown. They were the ones who anticipated every threat, who planned every step, who controlled every variable they could. That brain is your brain. Right now, as you're listening to this, your amygdala, your ancient alarm system, is scanning for threats. But here's the fascinating part. Your Stone Age brain can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an uncertain email from your boss. The control paradox. Dr. Lauren Liotti's groundbreaking research at Rutgers University revealed something extraordinary about our brains and control. When people felt they had control over their environment, even if that control was completely illusory, their stress hormones dropped by up to 40%. Their immune system strengthened. Their decision-making improved. But here's where it gets interesting. The subjects who performed best weren't the ones with the most actual control. They were the ones who had learned to find peace within uncertainty while taking purposeful action where they could. I learned this the hard way 3 years ago. I was obsessing over every detail of a major project, checking my email every 5 minutes, rehearsing conversations that might never happen, planning contingencies for contingencies. I thought I was being thorough. I thought I was being responsible. What I was actually doing was training my brain that the world was dangerous and that my survival depended on controlling things that were fundamentally uncontrollable. The neuroscience of letting go. Here's what neuroscientist Dr. Judson Brewer discovered when he studied the brains of people who had learned to embrace uncertainty. Their prefrontal cortex, the brain CEO, showed remarkable patterns. Instead of constantly firing in anxiety mode, it developed what he called adaptive flexibility. These brains had learned to distinguish between what psychologists call productive control and destructive control. Productive control looks like this. You can't control whether it rains tomorrow, but you can bring an umbrella. You can't control the stock market, but you can diversify your investments. You can't control other people's reactions, but you can choose your words carefully. Destructive control looks like this. Checking the weather obsessively hoping it will change. Refreshing your portfolio every 10 minutes. Rehearsing conversations over and over. Try and predict every possible response. The quantum connection. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. The more scientists study the fundamental nature of reality, the more they discover that uncertainty isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle tells us that at the quantum level, the very foundation of everything, you cannot know both position and momentum of a particle simultaneously. The act of observation itself changes reality. Think about that for a moment. The universe itself is built on uncertainty. Every atom in your body, every photon of light hitting your eyes right now, exists in a state of beautiful, dynamic unpredictability. So when you lie awake at 2 a.m., mind racing with all the things you can't control, remember this. You're not broken for feeling uncertain. You're human. You're participating in the fundamental nature of existence itself. The first practice, the circle of influence. Ancient Stoic philosophers, long before they knew about quantum physics or neuroscience, developed a practice that modern psychology has proven incredibly effective. They called it distinguishing between what is up to us and what is not up to us. Here's how to do it. Draw a circle on a piece of paper. Inside the circle, write everything you can directly influence in your current situation. Your actions, your responses, your preparations, your attitude. Outside the circle, write everything you cannot directly control. Other people's decisions, the economy, the weather, the past, the future. The magic happens when you realize that 90% of your mental energy has been focused outside the circle, and 90% of your actual power lies within it. When you catch yourself spiraling into control-seeking behavior, ask yourself, is this inside my circle or outside my circle? If it's outside, take a breath and redirect your energy to what you can actually influence. This isn't about becoming passive. This is about becoming powerful in the places where your power actually exists. Number 2, the physics of flow. How the universe operates without your management. Let me tell you about a river that changed everything I thought I knew about control. I was hiking in the Pacific Northwest, stressed about a business decision I couldn't make. Should I take the safe path or the risky one? I had been analyzing this decision for months, creating spreadsheets, consulting experts, losing sleep. I sat by this river for hours, watching it navigate around rocks, through narrow passages, over sudden drops. The water never hesitated. It didn't analyze the best path forward. It simply flowed, adapting moment by moment to whatever it encountered. And here's the remarkable thing. That river had been carving its path for thousands of years, slowly but persistently shaping the entire landscape around it. The science of emergence. Systems scientist Stuart Kauffman spent decades studying what he calls emergence, the way complex, beautiful patterns arise from simple interactions without any central controller. Watch a murmuration of starlings. Thousands of birds moving as one fluid organism, creating breathtaking aerial choreography. There's no bird director, no master plan. Each bird follows 3 simple rules. Stay close to your neighbors, avoid collision, match the group's direction. The result? Pure magic. Your immune system protects you from millions of potential threats every day without your conscious control. Galaxy clusters dance through space in patterns that take billions of years to unfold. Economic markets, despite all our attempts at prediction and control, follow their own complex rhythms. The universe is a masterclass in intelligent flow. The Tao of Physics. Physicist Fritjof Capra made a stunning observation when he compared ancient Eastern philosophy with modern quantum mechanics. Both describe reality as a flowing, interconnected dance of energy rather than a collection of separate, controllable objects. The Tao Te Ching, written 2,500 years ago, describes this principle. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. Modern physics tells us that at the quantum field level, particles pop in and out of existence, creating the stable matter of our world through constant, spontaneous change. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you learn to work with the flow rather than against it. The personal physics of flow. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying peak performance states, those moments when athletes, artists, and innovators perform at their absolute best. He found something counterintuitive. Peak performance happens when people let go of trying to control the outcome and instead become completely absorbed in the process. Think about the last time you were in flow. Maybe you were having an amazing conversation, playing music, solving a complex problem, or lost in a creative project. What was your relationship to control in that moment. You weren't trying to control every word, every note, every brushstroke. You were responding, adapting, dancing with what emerged. You had become like that river, focused but flexible, purposeful but not rigid, the uncertainty advantage. Here's something that might surprise you. The most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators aren't the ones who eliminate uncertainty. They're the ones who get comfortable surfing it. Sarah Blakely cut up pantyhose in her apartment and turned it into Spanx without knowing anything about fashion or manufacturing. She didn't have a business plan. She had an idea and the willingness to figure out as she went. Jeff Bezos left a lucrative job on Wall Street to sell books online when most people had never heard of the internet. When asked about his decision-making process, he said he imagined himself at 80 years old, looking back. He realized he wouldn't regret trying and failing, but he would regret not trying at all. Steve Jobs famously said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." His greatest innovations came from trusting that the dots would connect, even when he couldn't see how. The second practice, flow state anchoring. Here's a practice that will help you develop your capacity to flow with uncertainty. First, identify your personal flow triggers. Think back to times when you felt most alive, most capable, most in sync with life. What conditions were present? What was your mental state? How did your body feel? Common flow triggers include clear but flexible goals, immediate feedback, balance between challenge and skill, complete presence in the moment. Now, create what I call flow anchors, physical and mental cues that help you return to this state when uncertainty arises. When you feel the familiar grip of control-seeking tension, try this. 1. Take 3 deep breaths, imagining you're breathing in flow and breathing out resistance. 2. Say to yourself, "I trust my ability to respond wisely to whatever emerges." 3. Ask, "What wants to emerge here?" instead of "How can I control this?" 4. Take one small, concrete action in the direction of your values. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about training your nervous system to find stability within movement, like a surfer finding balance on a wave. The cosmic perspective. Carl Sagan once said, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff." Every atom in your body was forged in the nuclear furnace of an ancient star. You are not separate from the flow of the universe. You are the universe flowing. When you resist uncertainty, you're essentially arguing with the fundamental nature of existence. When you learn to flow with it, you align yourself with the same creative force that births stars and grows forests. The river doesn't fight the mountain. Over time, it carves through it. Number 3, the philosophy of trust. Ancient wisdom meets modern psychology. In the year 300 CE, a Chinese philosopher named Zhuangzi told a story that neuroscientists are now proving with brain scans. A butcher named Cook Ding was asked to carve an ox for a prince. As he worked, his movements were so fluid, so effortless, that it looked like a dance. The prince was amazed and asked how he had developed such skill. Cook Ding replied, "I don't look with my eyes or think with my mind. I follow the natural structure of the ox, finding the spaces between joints, the hollow places. My knife never touches bone. After 19 years, my blade is still sharp because I work with the natural way of things, not against it." Dr. Arne Dietrich's research on the neuroscience of expertise shows us that Cook Ding's ancient wisdom describes exactly what happens in the brains of people who have mastered their craft. The analytical, controlling parts of the brain quiet down. The intuitive, responsive parts take over. This is what psychologists now call unconscious competence, the ability to respond skillfully without conscious control. The trust equation. But here's the deeper question. How do you develop the trust necessary to let go of control? Modern psychology has identified three components of what researchers call basic trust. 1. Self-trust, confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. 2. Process trust, faith that following your values and principles will lead to good outcomes. 3. Cosmic trust, a sense that existence itself is fundamentally supportive, even when you can't see how. I used to think trust was naive. I thought people who talked about trusting the universe were just people who had never faced real challenges. Then I went through a period where everything I had tried to control fell apart anyway. My carefully planned career path changed overnight. A relationship I had invested years in ended. Financial security I had worked toward evaporated. All my controlling and planning hadn't protected me from any of it. But something interesting happened in the aftermath. Without the energy I had been putting in to try and control outcomes, I had more energy to respond creatively to what was actually happening. I discovered strengths I didn't know I had. I found opportunities one never would have looked for if my original plans had worked out. The science of resilience. Dr. Martin Seligman's decades of research on resilience reveal that people who bounce back from adversity share one key trait. They have what he calls an optimistic explanatory style. But this isn't blind optimism. It's a specific way of interpreting challenges. Resilient people see setbacks as temporary, this will pass. Specific, this affects one area, not everything. External, this is about circumstances, not my fundamental worth. But most importantly, they see challenges as information rather than threats. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes perfect sense. The humans who survived and thrived weren't the ones who could control their environment. They were the ones who could adapt to changing environments. Your ancestors survived ice ages, migrations, famines, and countless unpredictable challenges, not through control, but through resilience, creativity, and trust in their ability to figure things out. The wisdom traditions. Every major wisdom tradition has developed practices for cultivating trust in the face of uncertainty. The Stoics taught memento mori, remembering that life is temporary, not to create anxiety, but to cultivate appreciation for the present moment and reduce attachment to specific outcomes. Buddhist meditation practices train the mind to observe thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them, developing what they call equanimity, balance in the face of change. Indigenous cultures worldwide develop ceremonies and stories that help people find their place in the larger web of life, knowing that they were held by something greater than their individual will. Modern psychology is discovering that these ancient practices actually rewire the brain, strengthening the neural pathways associated with calm awareness and reducing the ones associated with anxious control-seeking. The third practice, the trust inventory. Here's a practice that will help you build your capacity for trust. Every evening for 1 week, reflect on these questions and write brief answers. 1. What did I try to control today that was outside my circle of influence? 2. What did I handle well, even though I couldn't control the outcome? 3. What evidence do I have that I can trust my ability to respond to challenges? 4. What am I grateful for that came from letting go rather than holding on? By the end of the week, you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice that your best outcomes often came not from perfect control, but from skillful response to uncontrolled circumstances. You'll begin to accumulate evidence that you are more resilient, more creative, and more capable than your anxious mind believes. The cosmic trust. But there's a deeper level of trust that goes beyond personal resilience. It's what Einstein called the most important question. Is the universe friendly? Modern astrophysics tells us an amazing story. For the first 380,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe was so hot and dense that light couldn't travel. It was literally a dark age. But gradually, as the universe expanded and cooled, light began to shine. Simple elements formed into complex molecules. Molecules organize into cells, cells into organisms, organisms into ecosystems, ecosystems into a living planet that became conscious of itself. You are the universe's 13.8 billion year journey toward greater complexity, beauty, and awareness. You are not an accident happening to an indifferent cosmos. You are the cosmos happening to itself. This doesn't mean everything will go according to your plans. It means that even when things don't go according to your plans, you're still participating in a creative process that is larger and more beautiful than what your individual mind can conceive. When you learn to trust this process, you don't become passive. You become a conscious collaborator in the universe's ongoing creativity. So let's bring this all together. Your brain evolved to seek control because it kept your ancestors alive. But in our modern world, this ancient survival mechanism often creates more problems than it solves. The key is learning to distinguish between productive and destructive control, influencing what you can while releasing what you cannot. The universe operates through flow, not force. From quantum particles to galaxy clusters, from rivers to immune systems, the most powerful creative processes happen through adaptive response rather than rigid control. When you align yourself with this natural flow, you access levels of effectiveness and peace that controlling alone can never provide. And finally, trust isn't naive. It's wise. Trust in your ability to respond skillfully to whatever emerges. Trust in the process of following your values, even when you can't see the outcome. And trust in the fundamental creativity of existence itself. This doesn't mean you stop planning or preparing. It means you hold your plans lightly. You prepare for what you can anticipate while remaining open to what you cannot. You learn to dance with uncertainty instead of fighting it. For the next 30 days, I invite you to experiment with this mantra whenever you feel the grip of destructive control. I trust my ability to respond wisely to whatever emerges. Say it when you're stuck in traffic, when you're waiting for important news, when you're facing a difficult decision, when the future feels uncertain. Notice what happens in your body when you say these words with genuine intention. Notice how it changes your relationship to the present moment. You might discover, as I did, that the peace you were trying to create through control was always available through trust. If this video has shifted something for you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Share one specific way you're going to practice letting go of destructive control this week. And if you know someone who's been struggling with anxiety about the future or trying to control outcomes that are beyond their influence, share this video with them. Sometimes the most generous thing we can do is remind each other that we don't have to carry the weight of controlling everything. If you're interested in exploring more of these intersections between ancient wisdom and modern science, between cosmic perspective and practical living, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell. We're building a community of people who are learning to find peace in uncertainty and purpose in the unknown. Remember, you are stardust that learned to wonder about its place in the cosmos. You are the universe experiencing itself through your unique perspective. Trust that journey. Trust that process. Trust yourself.